Hello, everybody. This is the Short Story Ears, and today we're talking to Collette Douaihy, Global Chief Creative Officer for dentsu Health and the president of the Pharma jury at Cannes Lions in 2024. Well, isn't that big? Hi, Coco. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for being our guest today. And let's begin with this hot stuff. So, arguably, the biggest misconception around pharma today and pharma marketing is that there is literally little space for creativity in this field. However, we seem to have been defying that stereotype within dentsu for quite some time now. So, what are your thoughts on this?
So the short story is I grew up in this industry and I've been doing this now for 24 years. And I have seen this industry blossom over the years, over two plus decades. And no, it wasn't. It was a highly regulated market. Creatives kind of, followed the leads of marketers, very highly regulated. And it was hard to break through with, uh, you know, groundbreaking creativity that would probably garner the attention of its audience. So over those years, and especially most recently, I would even say in the last 10 years, right, that we have seen this uptick in pharma companies, brave pharma companies, embracing what big consumer does, which is innovation, technology, and putting the consumer at the center of the experiences. So I would actually say that you have to be more creative in pharma than ever before, when you think about it. So creativity is at the center of everything we do in pharma now, and it's a a very different industry than it was 24 years ago, and you see a surge of creatives wanting to get into this industry because it does have the power to change lives, and you can do amazing work in this field.
It's like, this general concept of having more obstacles and having more challenges requires you to be more creative and more innovative.
Yeah. Yeah, and this industry actually focused one at one point very much on brand benefits and didn't really put the patient at the center. But when we think about these journeys that people go on in the health experience, we want to make them more enjoyable and we want to make sure that they're having a good experience. And once you have that, customer or consumer centric or patient centric approach, creativity will come along, right, with a profound understanding of our audience and what they're going through and understanding their health journey.
Based on your experience, is it really hard now to attract people into the industry? Does it look good? And for marketers from other areas, does it look
It really
attractive
does.
enough?
It really does. Even if you're looking at all the categories that can, you will see other industries besides health and wellness, besides pharma, you will see that type of work in other areas. So automotive has gotten into the game. And I always use an oldie but a goodie that I love is, Nike started as a shoe company, right? A sneaker company. They were all about their sneakers and, you know, um, how cool they were and what they offered the consumer. But then Nike got into the health industry, right? We have more wearable apps. The sneaker is part of that journey to your best self, to your health. And big companies like Nike are in the health game. So we absolutely can grab talent. I think there's a ton. In fact, I have to follow up on some people here, even at Dentsu, that are talking about making the switch to health and wellness or pharma. And I do think everybody looks for that extra challenge. And like I said, I started in this industry a long time ago, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I really wouldn't. I just think the work we do is incredible, and I love thinking about how to help people, and that does push your creative muscle.
Apart from your category, because I can hear that there's a lot of horizontal creativity implied, right? So we're looking far and wide. What
Right.
other areas of creativity and innovation are you eager to see at Cannes Lions this year?
I first and foremost, I always look at craft, right? I think because I come from the art side, craft is just one of those things that can move an audience, right? So thinking about other categories, when you see how they approach craft, I think to myself, how do we apply it in pharma? And I'm staying away from health and wellness when I think of strictly pharma. How do you take the level of craft that we see in other areas and apply it to pharma? And guess what? We're not behind. We're probably ahead in a lot of ways. So I feel like the pharma industry, we're already caught up, right? A lot, the misconception is a misconception. We are doing some of the most innovative work, around the globe, whether it's, automotive getting in the health industry, fashion has inspired us to think differently, right? I think about some of the pieces I had judged several years ago, was thinking about the fashion industry and how it might apply to psoriasis. And what does that feel like? It was called the Unwearable Collection, and it was looking at these amazing costumes, but they were designed from, like, thinking about glass and what that feels like when you have psoriasis or any kind of, inflammation disease. And, you know, fashion can help us move the needle and think about what we do. And I've actually already started my judging, and I'm seeing really wonderful things in tourism, right? When you think about tourism, how does that affect people with disabilities, right? Again, I go back to that health journey and how we're helping patients live a better life. Why do it should be inclusive, right? We should be thinking about all aspects and how are they included in the greater world of how they navigate, their everyday life.
What are the other, well, let's say KPIs that we could talk about in terms of like health marketing, helping patients live better lives, fighting against misconceptions in the health industry? What is that factor of success that we're working with here?
Oh, and that's interesting because, I think I said that, this industry once just focused on benefits of a drug, right? You marketed a drug, you advertised it. What does the drug do? Great, I need to take it, right? It's so much more than that, right? So we see innovation in the pharma industry, not just in marketing, but how drugs are getting to market, clinical trials. Rare disease is ticking up really high. Like, there are more rare diseases. And I actually saw a piece around that I'll probably talk about post can, but rare diseases are higher than ever before. And I think that when we think about marketing and thinking about these drugs, it's not really the drug, right? You have to think about that patient experience. The drug is only part of that journey to health and wellness. So, I think, we talked, or, thinking about scrolling therapy, right? Let's just talk about that for half a second, right? Last year's Grand Prix winner, right? An incredible piece of technology, right? It had nothing to do with the physical drugs that some people take for Parkinson's, but it was literally an app that helped with a therapy for facial masking that allowed patients not only to do their exercises with dignity and grace, but enjoy those moments while they were scrolling through their social feeds like Instagram and Facebook. So when you think about that, you have to put that patient first. And drugs will always be, and I say drugs or medications, I like to say, medications will always be part, not always, but part of their therapy. But you have to look at that holistic patient, what their journey looks like, what are their obstacles that are holding them back, or what are the opportunities to make their experience better. So back in the day, we used to call it pill plus, right? And it was a term that honestly pharma kind of got sick of hearing because we moved past that. Wi- pill plus, it's already been happening for years, right? It's not just about the pill, it's about the plus of what people are experiencing, how they're doing it. So, you see cardiovascular brands providing tips on diet and exercise and giving people recipes and wearable tech and things like that, apps to keep them motivated. That's the bigger battle. And when you surround your patients or your consumer with all those great pieces of technology and or motivational innovation, that will carry them much further than just a pill. And that's what we used to call it, was pill plus. Plus plus plus.
Plus, plus, plus. Love it. Positive thinking. Plus, plus, plus.
Yes.
So, scrolling therapy was a major win last year. So, we took the Grand Prix at Cannes, and I think, like, for the entirety of the year, it has remained one of our most awarded and recognized cases within the industry. So, if we take a moment and reflect on this journey with this particular case, what elements of the case do you think contributed to its insanely, I don't know, great success with the judges.
Oh, so yeah. So when I think of scrolling therapy, it holds a special place in my heart because it was just, I've said enough about this in the way that it was just amazing radical collaboration that led to this great work. And I think, because it's the best of the best and it can hold up against some of the innovation things that we saw that came before it, I think, scrolling therapy gave us a really beautiful blend of humanity, innovation, technology, um, and we did all of that with meticulous craft, right? Thinking about every smallest detail that that patient was going to go through. So I think it's the blend of that. Like you when you're in health and wellness, you're thinking about these very debilitating diseases. You have to put humanity first, but then think about innovation and technology and everything else that goes into it. So I think these elements will help influence the how we look at patient journeys moving forward. You need that profound understanding of that, like I said, and understanding what those obstacles are and opportunities to do better in this industry to give patients a better experience. And that's what scrolling therapy did. I think, I've read enough to know that research consistently is showing positive experiences correlate to better outcomes for patients, and we saw that in scrolling therapy.
And I love it that it all started with an insight from within the team because one of the team members was diagnosed with early
That's right.
stage
Seb,
Parkinson's.
yeah, Seb Porta. He really was the I would say the light, the heart, the center of this campaign, and what a beautiful human being too. On top of it, and I think they started talking about this project 3 years ago already. I think we were, the team, we used to have a daily stand up and we still have that daily stand up that not that we always meet, but we're talking in it and that feed is just filled with love. And I think, you know, thinking about Seb and his determination, what as a team, we were a team, I said, for the North Star, awards was we were a team without limits. There was no holding us back. And I think the work showed that.
Beautiful. As the judge this year, what unique perspectives or insights would you love to bring to your own judging routine and your own judging process in Cannes this year?
Well, like I said, I grew up in this industry, and I think when you're in health and wellness this long, you have a retrospective view on the world, then you kind of take that journey along, and believe me, these last 24 years have been an amazing journey for me. And I think those perspectives are, how do we keep building on successes before, right? So I said before, it's not a one size fits all in pharma anymore. It used to be that way. So I think my unique perspectives will just be that the time I've spent in this industry and watching it change over those years, and how do we keep looking for those opportunities to build. Like, I saw a piece 2 years ago when I was on the pharma jury, but not as president, was a piece that it's called I Will Always Be Me. And it took technology similar to what Dentsu had done with Project Revoice, which was a phenomenal program for ALS. And it was about banking your voice. Fast forward several years later, you have for MMD a different disease state, but motor neuron diseases. And this team with Intel took that same technology and built off that technology. And they went from people having to bank their voice for 3 months to 3 weeks. So imagine someone who's having a hard time speaking, swallowing, talking, being able to bank their voice, not only for their own humanity, but for their loved ones. They took that thought process, I'm sure, was influenced by Project Revoice and built off that technology to do something remarkable for these types of diseases, which is incredible. So I think, as jury president this year, I joked when I met the jury, I will keep saying, is it can worthy? Because for me, my unique perspective is that I've been lucky enough to be in that jury room several times at Can and other shows as well. And you have to look for those moments of helping the jury understand what a profound impact it can have on an audience. And, understanding that we're living in a different world, that we have to be inclusive. And, I've seen that pharma industry squarely very not inclusive 24 years ago, not on purpose. It's just what it was. But seeing where we've taken it, and quite frankly, where the world is taking us in our modern world, and we like to call it here at Dentsu modern creativity, brands have to stay current with the modern world. And I think that will be the perspective I bring to the jury room, is helping people understand, how do you keep building off of what was to what will be, and what does the future look like?
Talking about the future, I think this podcast cannot survive if we stop mentioning AI in every episode.
Ah,
So, Coco, it's inevitable, really.
uh,
So,
consent.
like, okay, has AI hit your area of marketing already?
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you work with that? And like, is that one of the emerging trends, or is that like a trend? And what are
Um,
the other highlights?
it's not an emerging trend. It is the trend, right?
The
I
trend,
really
yeah,
do
it
believe
has
it's the trend.
arrived.
Right. And I can't imagine an industry that's not in the midst of AI. When we think about pharma and we think about pharma marketing, generative AI is really going to be the trend, more of that movement towards creating custom, high quality, um, high focused content for our customers, whether it be HCP, DTC, OTC. AI is here to stay. And I think it's going to shape the way we think, shape the way we approach creativity. And it should be, because the conversations in the jury room have been about, is AI really a tool? It is a tool, just like everything else. I look back when I first started, I had Photoshop, and Photoshop was a tool that allowed you to do certain things. And if it's used the correct way, and used honestly and authentically, it could be a very, very powerful tool. And I think it's going to help our industry tremendously. But, it doesn't come without its faults, right? We know that sometimes AI can put out the wrong information or be misconstrued. So it can't just be a cut and paste. It's got to, we are in a highly regulated industry. So it, it, it will never survive if it's not looked at as a very careful, thoughtful tool that we apply when it's the right time to apply it, how we look at it. I've seen some work in the past, and actually, I think it was last October, where something was completely done through AI. And it was really, some of the jury members didn't like it. I thought it was really interesting. And it became that hot topic, like, oh, I don't know, like, this was all AI. Does it even belong in the jury room? Absolutely, it belongs in the jury room. Let's have a conversation about, how did they use the tool? Are they being transparent on how they use the tool? Um, and if you look at some of the case studies and really dig into it, they're training these tools to really give a high quality output that is like no other, that becomes very original. So I think, um, I'm all for AI, and I can't imagine our industry, quite frankly, moving forward without it. And I think it'll be a very powerful tool.
Final question. What
Yes.
aspect of the Cannes Lions Festival are you most looking forward to, both professionally and personally, this year?
Okay. So, first time being a president, right? So, I would say for me, um, walking out on that stage, like, I have to pause and really just take in that moment, because it's one of those moments that may not happen again as jury president, but I think I'd be walking on that stage in a very different way. And I really just have to let that moment wash over me and take it all in. And I think sometimes you kind of blow out and you do your stuff, but I want to really let it sink in. So that, for me personally, I think that will be the highlight for me this year. And I think, the jury room, I love the jury room. Sometimes I'd say I don't even sometimes need to participate in all the festivities. That jury room gives you that front row seat to the most incredible talent in our industry. And I often talk about, several years ago, I was on the health and wellness jury at Cannes. It was the most incredible jury experience I have ever had, and I have made long lifetime friends, and there is a certain magic that unfolds in that jury room when you bring in all these creatives from around the world with different perspectives. a certain magic starts to unfold. And what I took away several years ago is literally a Teams channel that we still talk to each other. We have, honest to God, we have met in New York. Some of us, when we're there, we've met in in Las Vegas, in LA, and this jury has been so phenomenal. We let each other know where we are, what's going on in our lives. We follow each other in social feeds. We help each other with talent, with ideas, and it is the most beautiful thing, or the most profound thing you can take away from the jury experience, is you meet lifelong friends. And I hope that that's the experience I have, especially being jury president this year, that we do that. And I'm trying to, follow the lead of some great presidents I have worked with before. And I think, fingers crossed, it'll be the same experience.
Fingers crossed for sure. Coco,
Yes.
I can promise you that when you are on the stage, we'll make sure to take all the pictures. So,
Yes.
the
Thank
moment will
you.
be properly captured. And yeah, I can't wait to see you in Cannes. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you so much. It was very nice meeting you and spending the morning with you.